Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. My name is Demer S. Sigba from BSED English 1A. So, in this video, I am going to explain the 16 design features of language by Charles F. Hackett. So, without further ado, let's get started. Introduce Charles F. Hackett in 5 sentences. Charles Hackett was an American linguist and anthropologist. He was graduated from Yale in 1939 and later taught at both Cornell and Rice. He made significant contributions to structural linguistics, as well as the study of Native American, Chinese, and Fijian languages. His work focused mainly on detailed linguistics analysis, particularly in morphology and phonology, and on the concepts and tools that facilitated such as analysis. Up until the 1950s, language was largely viewed as a social behavioral phenomenon. Hackett was challenged in this belief by Noam Chomsky, who argued that language is biological based and innate. Chomsky believed that humans share a universal grammar that ties all languages together. Hackett staunchly opposed this Chomskyan concept of the nature of language. However, Hackett is most famous for defining what he called the design features of language, which demonstrated his belief about the commonalities among human languages. Enumerate and explain the Hackett's 16 design features of language. So now I will explain the 16 design features of language. First is the vocal auditory channel that refers to the idea that speaking, hearing is the mode humans use for language. When Hackett first defined this feature, it did not take sign language into account, which reflects the ideology of orality that was prevalent during the time. This feature has since been modified to include other channels of language, such as tactile, visual, or chemical olfactory. Number 2. Broadcast transmission and directional reception. When humans speak, sound are transmitted in all directions. However, listeners perceive the direction from which the sounds are coming. Similarly, signers broadcast to potentially anyone within the line of sight, while those watching see who is signing. This is characterized of most forms of human and animal communication. Transitoriness, also called rapid fading. Transitoriness refers to the temporary quality of language. Language sounds exist for only a brief period of time, after which they are no longer perceived. Sound waves quickly disappear once a speaker stops speaking. This is also true of signs. Number 4, interchangeability. That refers to the idea that humans can give and receive identical linguistic signals. Humans are not limited in the types of messages they can say here. One can say, I am a boy, even if one is a girl. This is not to be confused with lying prevarication. The importance is that a speaker can physically create any and all messages regardless of their truth or relation to the speaker. In other words, anything that can hear, one can also say. Number 5, total feedback. Speakers of a language can hear their own speech and can control and modify what they are saying as they say it. Similarly, signers see, feel, and control their signing. 6. Specialization. The purpose of linguistic signals is communication and not some other biological function. When humans speak or sign, it is generally intentional. Number 7, semanticity. Specific sound signals are directly tied to certain meanings. 8. Arbitrariness. Languages are generally made up of both arbitrary and iconic symbols. In spoken languages, iconicity takes the form of onomatopoeia. Vast majority of other symbols, there is no intrinsic or logical connection between a sound's form, signal, and what it refers to. Almost all names a human language attributes an object are thus arbitrary. The word car is nothing like an actual car. Number 9, discreteness linguistic. It is representations can be broken down into small discrete units, which combine with each other in rule-governed ways. They are perceived categorically, not continuously. For example, English marks number with the plural morpheme S, which can be added to the end of any noun. The plural morpheme is perceived categorically, not continuously. 10. Displacement. Displacement refers to the idea that humans can talk about things that are not physically present or that do not even exist. Speakers can talk about the past and the future and can express hopes and dreams. A human's speech is not limited to here and now. Displacement is one of the features that separates human. 11. Productivity. Productivity refers to the idea that language users can create and understand novel utterances. Humans are able to produce an unlimited amount of utterances. Also related to productivity is the concept of grammatical patterning, which facilitates the use and comprehensions of language. Language is not stagnant, but it is constantly changing. New idioms are created all the time and the meaning of signals can vary depending on the context and situation. 12. Traditional transmission, also known as cultural transmissions. Traditional transmissions is the idea that while humans are born with innate language capabilities, language is learned after birth in a social setting. It differs critically from Chomsky's idea of universal grammar, but rather purports that people learn how to speak by interacting with experienced language users. Significantly, language and culture are woven together in this construct, functioning hand in hand for language acquisition. 13. Duality of patterning. Meaningful messages are made up of distinct smaller meaningful units, words and morphemes, which themselves are made up of distinct smaller, meaningless units, which is phonemes. 14. Prevarication. Prevarication is the ability to, the, to lie or deceive. When using language, humans can make false or meaningless statements. This is an important distinction made of human communication. Language as compared to animal communication. While animal communication can display a few other design features as proposed by Hackett, animal communications is unable to lie or make up something that does not exist or have referent. 15. Reflexiveness. Human can use language to talk about language. Also a very defining feature of human language. Reflexiveness is a trait not shared by animal communication. With reflexiveness, humans can describe what language is, talk about the structure of language, and discuss the idea of language with others using language. And last but not the least is learnability. Learnability. Language is teachable and learnable. In the same way, as a speaker learns their first language, the speaker is able to learn other languages. It is worth noting that young children learned language with competence in East. Is. However, language acquisitions is constrained by a critical period such that it becomes more difficult once children pass a certain age. And that's all. Thank you.